Welcome to the Ministers Forum of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston. I'm the Reverend Dr. Colin Boston, Senior Minister of the Church. Today we'll be talking about what you can do in the face of rising authoritarianism and a time period where many people are feeling desperate and disempowered. Joining me today will be our congregation's membership coordinator, Margarita Arevalo. Well, Margarita, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And I wonder if you could just start off by telling us a little bit about both what your role is in the congregation and your experience as a community organizer.
Well, thank you for having me here at the First Ministers Forum for 2025. I have been the membership coordinator for the past 2 years here at FIRSTUU Church. I deal with membership process. I handle new visitors. Also work with the welcome team that's greeting everyone on Sundays. And so I maintain the database for the church as well.
But you have an extensive organizing experience outside of and community involvement outside of First Church. I know you've been involved in the Houston Rodeo. I know you've been involved in Democratic Party politics. I know you're involved in Texas A&M Prairie Views, I think, Alumni Association. Could you talk a little bit about those kind of experiences?
Yes. So I have almost 3 decades worth of volunteering activism work here in the area. Started when I was in college and working with my sorority. We did service projects with the elderly and also with children. So we worked with school districts and worked with organizations like LULAC. And so coming back to Houston, that was one of the things I wanted to continue to do, helping out the community here. And so I was involved immediately with the Houston Rodeo, which was one of the organizations that helped pay for my way to school through one of their scholarships. So at the time, as a new college graduate, I didn't have the funds to give to a scholarship, so I provided my labor as a volunteer on the rodeo committee. So I am over 15 years to volunteer now, and so been on several committees, made a lot of connections, and it's something that I have consistently done and committed to helping them out. And I don't know how many more years I'll put in, but I plan to continue to be a volunteer over there. I also do work with other causes, gun violence prevention groups, and also groups that deal with immigrants and the Latino community here in Houston. So I know a lot of people around town, and so that helps me get involved. And they also know when there's something that's coming up, they'll reach out to me and say, hey, we would like for you to help out. So this is a great city to do that in, and it's large enough where you can get involved in many ways.
Great. So I understand what you're going to be talking about with us today are kind of some of the basic ways to sort of get involved, from doing kind of an inventory of your own skills to helping to pick and identify organizations that you might want to get involved with. And then later on, you're going to talk about how to get involved in our community here at First Unitarian Universalist.
Yeah, so what I would like to break it down is provide 4 steps before people start getting involved, because it is such a large commitment to volunteer your time or your skills. So making sure you have an inventory of how much time you can spend, that you identify that ahead of time. So the first thing I would recommend is definitely take an inventory of the time that you have available in your schedule. Find out if you can do this weekly or monthly, and find out what type of skills do you have. Not everyone can go out and build homes, but there could be some skills that you can provide, either some accounting skills. You can even have sewing skills if you wanted to have a group that created quilts for cancer patients. So find out what your strengths are and find out what you can offer. If it's only monetary, that's great also. Organizations need the funds to help them grow in their mission and reach out to people. So For example, right now we have the need of people on the unhoused. They need food and blankets. And so if you can help donate those items, that would be great. If you can help distribute it as well, that would be great as well. But knowing what you can do, because everyone can help out, that would be the first step, is identifying that.
And so do you actually encourage people to say write down a list, or how do you go about doing the inventory?
So I am a list person. So, and I journal. And so when you put down your thoughts on paper, it helps you organize yourself. Sure. So I would definitely encourage you to write it down. Figure out what you want to do, and how much you can contribute. Write it down, keep it in a journal, and follow where your heart is leading you to, and then just keep track of it.
And then after you've sort of done that, you've talked about sort of identifying a cause that you would want to focus on?
Yes, because there are so many causes in this world. But in this community, there are so many causes. We only have so much time in our lives to spend dedicating our time. So I recommend narrowing down your first favorite 3 causes that you want to target. As a college student, I didn't have a lot of time on my hands because I was studying and in school. Sure. But I had 30 minutes a day that I can spend maybe reading to an elementary student who needed that. So, and that was something that I did want to encourage at that time, because I wanted to be a role model to the younger children, showing them that they can be a college student and work their way to that. So at that time, that was one of my important causes. But again, your causes are going to change just like your time. Sure. So continue to write down what you want to focus on, and find out where your heart really pulls you to. So last year, one of my causes that I selected was immigration, but immigration is one of my top 3 all the time. But working with the immigrant community last year was something I focused on, especially near the election, as elections approach. So I wanted to make sure that I can use my skills with a little Spanish that I do know, and go out into the community and talk to some of the members, and making sure that they're registered to vote, and the importance of voting.
Piece of advice that somebody once gave me was that you can do at the most 3 things. And that could be have a job, have a family, and do one activist thing, or have a job, have a family, and be an artist. But it's very hard to do more than 3 things.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Yeah, so I've always sort of ended up doing 4, but then you can sort of criticize me on that. But that is a piece of advice that I've always sort of held to. Okay, what is, I can do one activist project, or one thing that outside of these other things. Now you wanted to talk with us though, just also about figuring out what kind of organizations to get involved with, right? Because it's not enough to just say, you want to work on immigration, or you want to work on education or something like that, but you need a group of people to work with. So how do you go about picking that kind of group?
Right. So you do have to do your research. So, and currently the best thing to do is just to Google. Go on Google and research some of these organizations that focus on these issues and causes that you're interested in, and find out the strength of that organization, how they are organizing events, how do they organize their volunteers, because you do have some training to complete before participating. So find out how efficient they are as an organization. Because again, you're going to donate your time and effort and skills, and you want to make sure that it's used appropriately. So do your research, go online, and we have a great website here at FIRSTUU that also has a lot of volunteer opportunities that you can get involved with. And so we want to make sure we keep that updated. That's another key to a great organization, is making sure that their website is updated and they have all the current events on there. Because things change so quickly. When you have to get activated, as a group's going to do something, a rally, a march, they happen really quick.
Yeah.
So you have to stay involved, sign up for newsletters, sign up for text alerts, and get involved. So, I mean, once you do the research and you know who you want to participate with and which groups you want to participate in, then you have to answer the call.
Sure.
If the email comes out saying they need volunteers for food distribution on a Saturday morning and you're available, answer the call and sign up and do that.
I think also probably a good thing to just lift up, because you mentioned our congregation website. Like, another great way to find out about organizations is through our shared offering program, right? Like, a lot of times groups that people in the congregation are involved with are beneficiaries of our shared offering. And so that's like a way in which, at least if you're a member of FIRSTUU, you can know, well, mostly this is a group that like other members of the community have found to be good to engage with and is helpful, right? So like, one of the great things about being part of our congregation is you don't just have to Google it. You can kind of go to many of the, people who are very active and ask them, hey, what is a group that, you think I should work with, or there'll be volunteer opportunities. In terms of like answering the call, okay, so I mean, typically these ministers' forums get viewed by two kinds of people, right? People who are connected to our congregation and therefore are going to show up at Channing Call and like be like, hey, I know that I want to go to the JCC, the Justice Coordinating Council, and learn more about like immigration, or ask them if there's somebody who's, going to be involved in immigration. And like those folks, I think, if they don't know that already and view this, now will know that. But then there's sort of this other bucket of people who tend to watch these who, maybe they're not in Houston, or maybe they're not connected to the congregation, they just like our online programming. So like if you were to give somebody advice, let's say Casa Juan Diego is an organization that does a lot of work with immigrants, migrants, unhoused people that First Unitarian Universalist has a very long relationship with and can definitely vouch for as like a great organization for people to get involved with. If somebody's viewing this video and is like interested in getting involved with a group like that, but they're not going to be engaged with FIRSTUU, what would you, okay, they Googled Casa Juan Diego, they've identified this as the group that they want to engage with, but they have no relationship with Casa Juan Diego at all. But given what's going on and the incredible anti-immigrant, environment that we're living in right now, they've decided that now is the time that they really want to get involved. This is going to be their sort of first effort at doing this. Like, walk them through for me, please. Like, you've Googled the organization, you pick up the phone or you send an email, like what do you do, how do you introduce yourself, and then kind of what do you think people should expect in general?
Well, so I mentioned Casa Juan Diego is a great example because I have volunteered there. I have volunteered there through another group outside of the church, actually before I started working here. And the group that I worked with, we were not an established group. We were just like-minded community members that wanted to help out the refugees that were coming into Houston. And we knew Casa Juan Diego was one of the resources the refugees can assist with. So one of our volunteers contacted the Casa Juan Diego and organized our assistance to them would be bagging groceries for them on a Monday morning that they would then distribute to families on Tuesday. So we had a set time every Monday. Every Monday morning we had a group that showed up and we did the heavy lifting of putting the groceries together. So find a group of people, find some other folks that are interested in what you're interested in, and then together, I think as a larger group, you can make an impact. And so I would recommend keeping your eyes and ears open for that crowd. One of the things that I'm getting ready to get involved this year is with the Houston Public Library. And so I do not know anyone within the library system, but I went online and I signed up through their volunteer portal. And so I'm waiting now to attend one of their training workshops and get on board. But it actually, my interest in that is because they just opened a new library near my home.
Oh, nice.
And so I wanted to make sure that more people knew about it and help them have programs that would help the community. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward towards this year, but it just takes your initiative to find the people or reach out to these organizations and let them know that you're interested in volunteering. And then let them know what you're really, what your real intent is, because I think they will be able to place you with appropriate groups and in their most they'll need you in what you can provide to them. So definitely you have to have your own initiative to get out there and do the work.
But what you're saying is that, generally speaking, a lot of organizations, especially the larger ones, Casa Juan Diego, Houston Public Library, they'll have some kind of volunteer coordinator, some kind of volunteer program that you basically contact them, and then they'll be able to kind of plug you into the program. You're not going to have to kind of like weasel your way in there. They're going to try to make it easy and friendly for you.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
So, speaking of trying to make it easy and friendly for people, let's switch gears to First Unitarian Universalist. And, we get visitors all the time. We get new members pretty regularly. I just signed up a new member, or met with a new member today. And a lot of times those people are looking for service opportunities both within the congregation and through the congregation. So I thought that maybe we could kind of close, well, I don't know if close, but move towards the end here by you talking a bit about what are some good opportunities for people to get involved with in the congregation.
On Sundays is a very busy day. We have, like you mentioned, visitors that come in, new visitors who have never been here within the campus. They don't know their way around. So having a welcome team and members that will help them find their way around the building and let them know that we do have other events that happen here.
What kind of commitment is the welcome team?
So the welcome team is an annual commitment that we have probably about 20 volunteers right now that would come in on Sundays, and we only have 6 shifts on a Sunday, so you are commit to one Sunday a month if you could.
And it's what, a 90-minute commitment? Hour, 2 hour?
It's an hour commitment.
Hour commitment.
An hour and a half commitment.
A 90-minute commitment.
Yes.
So that's pretty easy. That's like a pretty, commit 90 minutes once a month to be, especially if you're engaged with the congregation already, get to know people, during that time. I mean, one of the things I always think is great about the welcome team for new folks is it's a great way to get to know lots of people, right? Because you are there greeting, and so you're welcoming everybody as they're coming, through into the sanctuary. And so you actually, if you want to get to know people, it's a really good way to get to start to know who is the congregation. And I'm always surprised by the difference between people who are members of the welcome team and who are not in terms of how well they know the congregation. Like somebody who will be a member for 25 years run into somebody else who's been a member for 15 years. I'd be like, I didn't know you were a member of First Unitarian Universalist, because neither of them have ever been on the welcome team. So they've always just sort of gone into the sanctuary and sat on the right side or the left side or whatever and just had their spot. Whereas being on the welcome team, it's a great way to get to know people.
Yeah, so definitely the welcome team not only greets new people, but yes, you are going to be greeting members that have been members for years, members who have been watching online that want to now come back into the church. And so as a membership coordinator, I do know the names of our members.
Yeah.
And so when I finally get to put a face to the name, it's always great to know who the members are here at the church. But definitely a welcome team member is going to know people coming in, their families, you're going to know their children, you're going to know when they bring family with them. Grandparents, it's always great to see grandparents come in for like the pageant that we have for Christmas. And so as a welcome team member, you will get to know people closely than you would have if you were just a member or visitor to the church. We are a 3-story facility with several rooms, and so a lot of them are used by other adult groups, adult programs, religious education. We have meetings happening also within the groups themselves that are here, and so they're open to everyone. And so just inviting people to come up and sit in with the string band. If you play an instrument and you want to join the string band, you can do that as well.
So what are some of the other teams or programs that are really easy to get involved with at FIRSTUU?
So you can easily get involved with the community projects. They do a lot of drives collecting food, clothing for the community. And so a lot of their work is connecting with organizations that we're going to make the donations to, but they take the collections here at the church on Sunday. And so they also will go out and they provide food at the Montrose Center. And so if you like to cook, that would be a great place to volunteer. I think it's only 5 times a year that they do that. So that doesn't take a lot of commitment for that event. But it is a preparing food and serving and cleaning up.
Well, and they also do an awful lot of construction projects, right? So rebuilding Houston Together, they're working on, I'm not even certain how to describe it, but rehabbing probably is the right language. Some social housing projects in the 4th Ward where people are out there almost every weekend doing carpentry projects, refurbishing these old buildings so that they can be housing for low-income folks in the community. They're doing a blood drive. I think it's on the 9th of February.
Yes, February 9th.
So, I mean, they do lots of different things for people to get involved with that are like, if you want to swing a hammer or give blood or whatever, they're great for that.
They always need volunteers. So.
Yeah.
Another thing is the Justice Coordinating Council as well. They're involved with our Texas UGM, which is the Texas UU Justice Ministry here in the state. And so with our Texas legislature just started its new session this month. There will be an advocacy day in March where people will go to 18th. Austin. March 17th or 18th, so check the website.
Okay.
But so it's a day where everyone, UU churches from Texas will go down and talk to the legislatures and let them know what our concerns are with the bills that are being laid out and making sure that they're aware we are paying attention to what they're doing in Austin. So if that's something that thrills you as well, Justice Coordinating Council would be the group to volunteer with.
And they do a lot of other advocacy programs too, right? So they've been very active in gun reform efforts. Some folks from the Justice Coordinating Council are very active in trying to fight the takeover of HISD by the Texas Education Agency. There we go. Yeah, so they have lots of good volunteer opportunities that way as well. Yeah,
so that's you can get involved with that. They have weekly, I believe, the school board meets weekly.
No, the school board meets monthly.
Monthly, that you can go and help speak at those meetings and make sure that they also are aware that the community wants public schools to be available for everyone. So,
but the JCC is been very active in that, as well as many other public advocacy issues. So I think you wanted to talk about the arts team as well?
Yeah, so we also have a arts and music program here at FIRSTUU where we want to make sure that people are engaged here in the community. We are in the museum district, so we have art all around us. But we also have music programs here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have the Arts Festival happening at the end of April.
Mm-hmm.
And so we encourage everyone to come out, learn crafts, learn music. We have the Arts Forum. We also bring in community members to talk about what they're doing and what their needs are in their community. It's almost the same as the shared offering program, that we get to see other organizations come in, and we can learn more about them and get involved.
Well, it's not just organizations. Sometimes it's artists. I mean, we've had some actually really world-class artists as part of the Arts Forum. And one of the things about that is that, it's members of the arts team who are helping identify those people and bring them to, First Houston, which I think has been very exciting. So it's often, this past week it was Project Row Houses, which is a wonderful third ward organization, Houston arts powerhouse. But in the past we've had people connected, I think, with Houston Opera and Symphony, and we've had some world-class photographers through during Photo Fest, and so it can be a real great opportunity to bring your connections and your relationships, if you're involved in the arts, as so many people from the museum district are, to the congregation and share with the wider community. So I don't want to go through all of the groups at First Unitarian Universalist, because one of the things that's pretty great about the congregation is there's over 20 different groups that meet. The arts team, the welcome team, JCC, the Justice Coordinating Council, Community Projects team. These are really easy groups for people to get involved with off the bat. Also, really easy groups that are oriented towards more spiritual practices are our yoga group that meets every Saturday at 10 a.m. We've got a meditation group that meets at 9 a.m. on Sundays. There's a book group that I run twice a month on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. And those are just a fraction of the programs, right? So, there's lots of ways you can get involved for both spiritual practice and deepening your own sense of spirituality, as well as engaging with our community through things like the welcome team, or the larger community through things like the Justice Coordinating Council or the Community Projects team. But we've mostly been talking about grown-ups and adults right now, and I think we wanted to kind of end by talking about the ways in which people who have young children and youth can get involved with that, because we are, one of the wonderful things about our congregation is it's a multi-generational community, right? So we have people and activities for people from 0 to 99, or even actually we have a 102-year-old who's a member of the congregation, so 0 to 100, 102. And so can you talk about some of our volunteer opportunities for children and youth, and what are things that people who have, young folks?
Sure. So the members here are great role models to our youth. Our religious education program has some leaders that are also very involved in the other organizations within the church and in the community. So they try to expose the children to those needs. And so I know that they are supervised here on Sundays to do either some bagging for the animal ministry group, where they prepare food for pets that elderly may have. I think that gets delivered with Meals on Wheels. And so they get to bag that food for those seniors that would need it. They also collect food donations for this coming Easter, and then they will deliver that as a group to the Emergency Aid Coalition that's just down the street from us. So the children get to see, the younger children get to see that we do make an impact as a community, that each individual can make an impact. And the older children do participate in other groups off-site, either planting trees at one of our county parks with the commissioner, organizing that. So they get to see really what happens in a larger aspect in the community and the county, and what different groups come together. So it's a lot of volunteers that get together for tree planting. but our church does get together to do that as a group, and it's wonderful to see the youth do that.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say, as a parent of 2 kids in the youth program who are both going off to college next year, one of the things that's been really fun is seeing the importance of community service work in their own framing of their college applications. So, like, you know, they kind of complained about it or whatever when they were like 8th grade, 9th grade, freshmen, sophomores, whatever. But now that they're like looking back, like they're like, oh, this in part service was really formative. And so writing about experiences working with a farmer that provides food in a food desert, where the youth group went out and spent a couple of days helping them prepare their crops for the freeze because they didn't have access to, the funds to get, hire a bunch of people to come in and prepare the crops for them, or so tree planting, or things like working in Freedmanstown with housing refurbishment. I mean, those things I think have really been very impactful for the kids. And I think you're right. It is one of the great things about it is that it is an opportunity, if you're an adult, to really be a role model, and if you're a young person, to actually find some great role models outside of your family. Mm-hmm. So I think that is today's Ministers Forum, and we'd like to thank you for joining us and invite you to come visit us any Sunday. We have a 9:30 service and 11:30 service, and you can find us online just about any time. Thank you for joining us. Next month, we'll be talking with legendary jazz musician Tex Allen about his actually growing up in this congregation. Tex is a member of the artist family that includes Debbie Allen and Felicia Rashad, all of whom grew up in First Unitarian Universalist in the 1950s and were actually one of the early members of the community to desegregate it. That oral history is going to be actually done live in the sanctuary in front of members of the congregation and interested members of the public. We don't have a date for it yet, so stay tuned looking for that. However, Tex is going to be recording a new album on February 8th from 6:30 p.m. in our sanctuary with musicians from the Houston Symphony. So if you'd like to come to that, it's going to be a wonderful evening, and it will be a wonderful way to learn more about him and to hear some fantastic music in our congregation. Unfortunately, because he's recording it for an album, we won't be broadcasting the performance, but you can come and see it. And we hope we'll see you then, and we hope we'll tune in next time when we talk with him about his experiences growing up here, the civil rights movement, and First Unitarian Universalist's place in the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s. Thanks so much for joining us.